Okay, it's game time.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today, we're getting nostalgic for the days of old and looking back at the 10 best things about gaming in the 2000s. For this list, we'll be looking at the gaming landscape specifically around the 6th generation of consoles, such as the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, as well as the early days of the PS3, Xbox 360, and Nintendo Wii, and what made it probably one of the greatest times to be a gamer. What was your favorite era of video games, and what do you miss about gaming from your childhood? Pop a couple member berries and let us know down in the comments. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Real hype.
Gordon, snap out of it. You're staring at me again.
Think back, if you're old enough, to the days of midnight launches when fans would wrap around buildings just waiting for a new game to release. This was also during the days when most of the info we got about new games came from magazines and eagerly anticipating the newest issue to tell us what was coming in the near future. Along with this was the days of E3, waiting for those new reveals and watching what seemed like endless hours covering all the games shown off and dreaming of one day going to the E3 floor and being one of the first to try out the newest titles still in development. However, with the internet literally at our fingertips and stories and leaks constantly bombarding you from every news site, there's very little to get excited about nowadays, as most games we're anticipating have been revealed oftentimes years before their eventual release.
Hold your position, man. Proximity 0.
What if you miss?
I won't.
Fewer spoilers.
A man chooses, a slave obeys.
Think of how little impact the "would you kindly" twist would have had not only on your experience, but the entire gaming landscape if comment sections were flooded with the reveal and whole articles were written about it the same day the game released. With most online users considering themselves trolls, oftentimes you can't even open Twitter or YouTube without seeing a spoiler for a game that had only just been released that day. This wasn't as prevalent an issue during the 6th and even to an extent the early days of the 7th generation of consoles, but is a constant problem for gamers nowadays, and oftentimes no matter what we do short of leaving the internet behind until we finish the newest title, it's often nearly impossible to avoid having huge twists or large portions of the game ruined for us before we even have a chance to begin.
I will stand my ground and be strong. I don't know when it will be, but someday.
Less toxicity.
It's your call, Sergeant. We're going in. Get tactical, Marines!
Gamers have been and always will be a passionate group of fans. However, in recent years, the level of passion people have for their favorite hobby or pastime has been taken to some extreme new levels. With most developers having an online presence, now more than ever, it's all too easy to harass a game dev for a decision fans might disagree with, and sometimes this has even led to threats of harm, which has no place in a community that has brought so many together over the years. While fan outrage is nothing new, in the early 2000s, most people had no outlet for airing their grievances besides writing or emailing the company or simply complaining to their friends about their thoughts on the newest title. Just imagine the kind of hate and vitriol Hideo Kojima would have gotten back during the Metal Gear Solid 2 switcheroo.
Their leader is Solid Snake.
The hero of Shadow Moses? So that's why you changed my code name.
Competition.
Get ready to face my wrath, Crash Bandicoot!
Whether it was Mario vs. Sonic, Mario vs. Crash, Crash vs. Spyro, or Ratchet vs. Jack, there was no shortage of friendly competition in the early days of the console wars, and for a time, no matter your side, everybody was a winner and had their own personal favorites. Nowadays, however, there's very little competition to speak of. Crash has only just had his revival, Spyro mostly died alongside his Skylanders toys, and Ratchet & Clank has no competition to speak of on Sony's consoles.
Well, team, I believe some congratulations are in order.
Even former heavyweights like Medal of Honor and Battlefield have fallen before the might of Call of Duty. And although Battlefield is still around, it's a shadow of its former self, and even the likes of Halo can't compete in a landscape it once dominated. And with no real competition to speak of, many once staple genres like 3D platformers are becoming relics of a bygone era.
I swear, that's the last time I ever touch any stupid precursor crap!
Development time.
So, you must be Hopkins. You seem to be making yourself quite comfortable here, my boy.
I'm just trying to fit in.
Believe it or not, there once was a time when many tentpole series would see new entries every couple of years, if not annually. In the span of almost 3 years, gamers were gifted GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, as well as numerous other Rockstar hits like Midnight Club and Bully. Ratchet & Clank saw improved sequels 1 year after another, and even Metal Gear games were only 2 to 3 years apart. These days we get near annual releases of Call of Duty and of course sports titles, but the days of full-fledged sequels releasing on the same console generation is quickly becoming a thing of the past. As budgets balloon to blockbuster numbers and the scope of games increases, so too does the time to create these titles, to varying success. And because of the severely extended development times between entries, there are some gamers playing sequels to titles who weren't even alive when the original was released.
This is where the first Psychonauts met. This is where it all began.
No, Raz. This is where it all ended.
Couch co-op.
I believe
While the PS2 and OG Xbox brought online gaming to many players for the first time and introduced many gamers to words and phrases they'd never heard before, there was still an abundance of love and options for those who preferred their trash talking face to face. Online lobbies have undoubtedly become one of the most popular new places for gamers to make friends, but still nothing compares to getting off the bus and running to a neighbor's house to play split-screen Halo, Star Wars Battlefront 2, or Dead or Alive 2. This is also increasingly disappointing for anyone looking to introduce their children to gaming and having fewer and fewer options to share their first experiences with. Somehow, over the years, for a hobby that used to bring so many people together, we've never been further apart.
The command post has fallen into enemy hands. Reinforcements are being depleted.
Spoiled for choice.
Time to go to work, guys.
Along with becoming one of the best-selling consoles of all time, the PS2 had a library of games that rivals nearly any console to date. By the end of its life cycle, over 4,300 games had been released for the PS2, while by comparison, the PS4, which is still ongoing, has just shy of 3,300 games. While this doesn't seem like a massive difference, when you consider that the PS4 has an abundance of indie titles as well, the number of fully fledged studio releases for one of Sony's newest consoles drops significantly. We also had all manner of titles and genres that have almost completely disappeared in recent years, such as extreme sports titles, arcade racers, and even 3D platformers. The 6th generation was also full of licensed tie-in games that, while not all were winners, were still dumb fun for a weekend.
Would you like a receipt?
Experimentation.
Here's another fine example of human barbarism. The hamster cannon.
These days, AAA video game budgets can balloon to the hundreds of millions, and if a title doesn't meet expectations, not only could a potential franchise abruptly end, the studio itself might be closed down for good, or if you work for Activision, folded into pumping out Call of Duty titles. What made the 6th generation such a golden age of gaming was the level of experimentation developers were granted to make some of the most absolutely craziest concepts possible. Nowadays, something like the masterpiece Shadow of the Colossus or even Kingdom Hearts would be seen as risky and might never get past the conceptual stage. Publishers now more than ever are run by money men and constantly chasing the next trend or whatever can net them the most profit, and as a result, the once prolific industry has become stagnant, and any experimental titles are left to the indie market.
This is it, the mental world.
All in one.
Foul beast! I will send you back to the depths of Hades!
When was the last time, outside of maybe any first-party Nintendo game, the entire game was on the disc? No DLC, no season pass, and most importantly, no microtransactions. While these days developers can offer patches to fix issues in their games, back in the day, video games were often delayed until they were fully complete, and we as gamers often had no idea because the hype machine didn't begin until the game was close to completion. And at most, some games would later receive special edition releases that gave players an abundance of extra content to fool around with. Nowadays, developers seem to intentionally leave major content out of the game to sell back to the player in a season pass, or as DLC, or worse still, can now alter the game to entice players to purchase microtransactions after the game has released and you've invested your hard-earned time and money into the title.
Big mistake, you punks.
Designed for fun.
We play where we want, how we want. This is style over strategy.
Above all else, however, what made the 6th generation of consoles so great was the games we played were designed specifically for us to have fun with them, break them, and play them until we'd uncovered every little Easter egg hiding within them. As video games rival summer blockbusters not only in cost but production, more and more video games are becoming serious business, and to an extent, the medium has grown along with much of its audience. However, as games attempt to rival their film counterparts, the escapism aspect of gaming is quickly becoming forgotten. Once beloved titles like NFL or NBA Street, which took what was predominantly a niche genre and made it fun for casual players, or even once popular franchises like Twisted Metal or Tony Hawk, barely exist anymore. Video games are far better than ever, but the love for the game has been lost to time.
The dagger! He must not get the dagger!
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.